So it looks like we're getting some new Batman the Animated Series action figures from McFarlane Toys DC Direct, guys, but are these the Batman the Animated Series action figures that we've been waiting for, or are they kind of a waste of money? Be sure you stick around until the end, Soulmates, because we're going to talk about what Batman the Animated Series action figures we would love to see next. The first action figure that we're going to look at in this wave, guys, is Robin, and this one is really weak sauce, I think, because it kind of looks like the character from the cartoon, but also it's got a lack of articulation. There's no thigh swivel here to even speak of. All his hips do is really just flare out, which is really basic stuff. And besides that, there's nothing much to say about it. It's an old mold from a previous action figure that was released a while back. The only difference is that it's got a new paint job and presumably different plastic, but does it really have any value? No, not really, especially when this action figure and all the other ones like it are being sold for $30 a pop. I think the accessories that come with this one are cool. He comes with some extra hands, he comes with a grapnel line, but he's also missing a crucial detail. The inside of his cape is black when it should be yellow. This is something that happens to a lot of McFarlane Toys Robins, where they just won't include that yellow detail that goes on the inside of Robin's cape. They do this on the Superpowers line too, and I can't figure out what's going on there. The cell shading on this one makes it a really ugly action figure with next to no redeeming qualities. The cell shading is so bad that I honestly think the X-Men VHS line from Hasbro had better cell shading than this line does. I don't know why they bothered with this, because it looks terrible and it's not worth the price point. You would really just be better off going and looking for old Kenner Batman the Animated Series action figures than you would be buying any of these. The next action figure we're going to look at, guys, is the Scarecrow. This one is better than Robin is, I guess, but he still doesn't really have a hip swivel to speak of, not that I can tell. He kind of looks vaguely like the cartoon, so that's cool, and the cell shading on him is less offensive than it was on Robin. The cell shading appears to be concentrated around a lot of the folds on this action figure, so that's definitely a plus. I think that the scythe he comes with is very cool looking, and I like the way they did the cell shading on that, because it does look a little bit more like a blade like that. It makes it look more metallic. But the cell shading on some bits and pieces of Scarecrow here is kind of awkward. Case in point, the unmasked head he comes with. It makes him look like he has a goatee. It doesn't look right, and I wish it wasn't there because of it. The sculpt is decent looking and the paint is okay, but there's no articulation here to make it worth your time. The next action figure we're going to look at is Mr. Freeze. This one comes with 4 sets of extra hands, and he also comes with a freeze gun. There's a tank that comes attached to his back, so if you were afraid that wasn't going to be there, don't worry, it is. The articulation on this one is just really bad looking. It doesn't look like a particularly good action figure. Just looking at the action figure, he looks incredibly stiff. He doesn't look like he has hardly any movement to him at all. I would be surprised if he even bent at the elbows, honestly. But then you see there's very obviously no hip swivel, so I don't know what kind of range you're supposed to be able to get with him. I don't know what you're supposed to be able to do here. This is not good. This is really, really bad. There's not even a torso rocker here or an ab crunch. I don't know what they're doing here. Why did they bother? Because the quality on this is very obviously lacking. Anyone who looks at these can see it. The next piece we're going to look at, guys, is the Batcycle. This one is somewhat unexpected. I did not see the Batcycle being released as one of the first releases for this new line from McFarlane Toys, but here it is, and presumably the wheels roll. It looks like they'll roll. It seems like an okay bike. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. It looks like how it does from Batman the Animated Series, so that's cool. It does come with a base and it can rest on that. It also comes with an extra head for Batman, so that's pretty cool. Ironically, I think that this is probably the best piece from the entire Batman the Animated Series line that we're seeing from McFarlane Toys here. So I don't know if it's really worth getting, because how excited can you be for the action figures if the Batcycle is the best piece? If you support what I do, please click subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single video of mine when it comes out. And if you're enjoying this DC Direct Batman the Animated Series video, guys, please give it a like, because these videos are really tough to put together and I appreciate it. The next action figure we're going to look at is not part of the Condiment King wave, but it appears to be a standalone release. This is Alfred Pennyworth, and he comes with a couple of extra sets of hands. He comes with a bunch of dining ware, and he comes with a duster. The accessories here are probably the most exciting thing about him, because the action figure is just more of the same. It's an action figure that we've seen before. It just has a new paint job, presumably new plastic is being used, and there's nothing to write home about here because it doesn't do anything new. To all appearances, there's no improvements on that original release, and the nicest thing you can say here is that he does bear a decent resemblance to the character from the show. If that's what you're looking for and you just want to have the character, I guess that's fine. But as an action figure in 2023, it's really, really lacking. The next action figure we're going to look at, guys, is Batman himself, and this one is probably the most exciting figure of the wave, but at the same time, such a disappointment, because he comes with a bunch of extra hands, he comes with a batarang, that's all very nice, and ironically, he's also the only one in the entire line so far that even has an ab crunch, so that's something. But then you get down to all the paint deco, and God, it looks bad. His trunks appear to just be slopped on there, and it doesn't look even at all. And then the cell shading is all weird and haphazard. I don't know what they're doing here. It looks really bad. It would be one thing if they just had the blue accents on the black parts of his costume, but everything else here is way too much. And the cape, it doesn't look all that great. It kind of looks cheap like the superpower stuff, and honestly it really shouldn't look cheap at $30 a pop for one of these action figures. I think the best thing you can say about this line and this Batman in general is that it's 6-inch scale. So for all the people who absolutely have to have 6-inch scale, then this line is for you, I guess. But the quality just really isn't there. The final action figure that we're going to look at from this wave, guys, is of course the Condiment King, and the same criticisms that have been levied against all the other action figures absolutely apply here. This is a ho-hum release, no good articulation here, just really basic stuff that isn't all that impressive. He comes with his condiment guns, you know, his ketchup and his mustard stuff, and the tank that goes on his back. But once again, we're seeing that cell shading that looks super, super awkward. Kind of looks like when you look at the side of his face that he's got mustard on his face. It's not a great look. And when you buy every action figure in this wave, not Alfred Pennyworth, but the other ones, you assemble this one. And I don't know how the assembly on this one is going to be, because McFarlane Toys is terrible at making Build-A-Figures. They're really not good at it, and they should just stop. But maybe this one will stay together all right. I hope it does if people go out and buy this one. Otherwise, I don't know, guys. This really is not worth the time, and I think you should save your money and spend it elsewhere. Well, soulmates, now that we've seen this Condiment King wave of Batman the Animated Series action figures, what action figures would we love to see next from McFarlane Toys on this line? Well, I think that they should go back to the drawing board on these, because these really aren't good enough. They don't measure up to the standards of action figures that are throughout the toy aisle right now, and they really need to come up with something better than this, especially if they want to charge $30 for it. Well, soulmates, what do you think of this Batman the Animated Series Condiment King wave? Is this one that you have to have for your collection? Are you only interested in some of them because maybe not all of them are all that great? Or do you want none of them because these really aren't the stuff? I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. comments, and be sure you let me know what you'd love to see from Batman the Animated Series next. If you'd like to learn more about the new DC Direct Superpowers action figures, you can watch that video here, soulmates.